3, 2, 1. You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Hey everybody, thanks so much for listening to Real Pineapple tonight. Yeah! This is Hunter, and I'm here with Colin. Colin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing there, bud?
So, I feel like I'm going to be a little... I think I'm going to make you upset on this review, to be totally honest. I
thought you would.
So, we're talking about First Man, and I'm going to be honest, I was sitting in the theater, and I was kind of laughing myself, because I went, Colin's going to love this, and I'm just not going to love it as much as Colin, so we're going to have to really discuss this. And I almost compare it to something like Interstellar, but while Interstellar was almost 3 hours, while I thought it went a little long, I was never bored, if that makes sense. I just went, okay, like, I'm not digging this, but at least stuff is happening. I think the biggest problem with First Man, and we kind of talked about it a little bit with A Star Is Born, in the second act, stuff moves really fast. It is the exact, opposite. I just thought the second act was a fucking crawl, and to be honest, it really lost me, personally, in the second act. Kind of your thoughts on First Man, like your initial ones.
I mean, I just completely disagree.
I had a feeling you would. This is going to be one of our classic reviews.
If you're saying you thought it was boring, like, I didn't. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, if you really want to hash it out, we can. But, like,
I do,
when it comes down to it, like, I knew you weren't going to like it. You just don't like these types of movies. Like, there's so many of these movies that are just very similar to this. Like, a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies are very similar to this. Like Interstellar, Dunkirk, like all of which every time we go to review them, like it's always the same. You tend to not like them. And that's fine, but like honestly, it normally just like gets me frustrated, like hashing it out with you and like trying to like tell you why you're wrong and like these movies are great, but like I don't know what to do anymore. Like it keeps happening over and over again. So like let me just tell you right now, I loved this movie. It's gonna be in my top 10. I thought it was brilliant, and I knew that you weren't gonna like it, and that's fine. I just need to get over that. But like the fact is that like you were saying, you were sitting in the theater being like, oh man, I know Colin's gonna love this, and like you just knew that like you didn't like it. I was sitting there in the theater being like, oh my god, this is brilliant. I know Hunter isn't gonna love it as much as I am, because it's just so similar to Interstellar and Dunkirk and all these movies that I think are so great and brilliant. And it just like it's like I could have called this the second like the movie, you know, was like halfway through. So
what I will say, I think you'll be surprised by what I give it, and so what I will say, just kind of jumping in here, because I since you love it, I'll have you go for the plot. The thing is, and what frustrates me is that there's not something outside of just I thought the second act was slow. There's nothing wrong with the movie, if that makes sense. Like, I think the Ling, Ryan Gosling, as he's known, I thought he does a really damn good job as Neil Armstrong. Claire Foy is becoming one of my favorite actors, period, very quickly. She as Janet Armstrong, there's a scene where she tells him when he finds out he's going into space and he hasn't really told his kids, which, you know, not the best move. She flat out tells him, you need to get your kids comfortable with the concept that you may not come home. And that scene alone, I'll be honest, I bumped the movie up a half grade just because of that scene. I went, holy shit, because she just gets Ow.
Whoa, what just happened? Bless you.
Yeah, so bless you, thank you. So I just got back from space, but that scene alone, I went, holy shit! Like Claire Foy she's an amazing actress, and this is the first time I've seen Jason Clarke in something that I went, oh my god, actually, I like you in this. It's been a little while, but yeah, man. So yeah, I'll let you kind of jump in here. What's the plot on this?
So I mean, the plot is basically just the whole movie is, to go with the title. It's the first man that ever walked on the moon. Now, when this idea of this movie came out, like, it may not have excited a lot of people, and I would understand that because there's been so many movies done about the space race, about, the Apollo missions. Like, obviously Apollo 13 was a huge Oscar hit with Tom Hanks, and you may think that this type of movie has been done before, and you wouldn't be wrong, but in talking about the plot, it's so much more focused on a character study of who Neil Armstrong was, of what it would take to be the first human being to walk on the moon, like what it would be like to do that, and really put it in perspective of the mindset that you would have to actually, like, go through all of the training and watching all of your friends and colleagues die doing the same thing that you're trying to accomplish, like constantly, like, living in a household with a wife who is best friends with all the widows of the other astronauts that have perished, like trying to do what you're trying to do. So when in talking about the plot, it's not just like how the events played out and how we were able to accomplish the incredible task of sending a spaceship all the way to the moon, having like a vessel come off of the spaceship and land, and then go back, and then take that spaceship all the way back to Earth and land, which is ridiculous that we did that. This is real life. This is not a comic book, nor is this science fiction. This really happened, which already just boggles my mind. So in that sense, that this is real history is very fascinating to me. But going back to the plot, this movie really is a character study of who Neil Armstrong was. And when you're talking about a character study that's focusing on one main character, you better have a good actor and someone who's going to be able to, like, really command the screen for the entirety of a movie when he's basically in every screen. And, it's probably been well established on this podcast that I have a complete man crush on Ryan Gosling. I love the guy.
You do? Yeah,
I love Ryan Gosling. I think he's basically the best actor in Hollywood. Certainly the best actor that has not gotten a Academy Award, now that Leonardo DiCaprio has.
That's fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, all that being said, really when it comes down to it, I mean, you're talking about, like, the movie opening. It's a fascinating twist that, like, I never even knew that Neil Armstrong had a daughter that, like, passed away from cancer. So, like, you're talking about a guy that did everything that he did with already overcoming, like, the depression and, like, getting over the fact that, like, he had a daughter die, and they keep bringing this back, with dreams and things that happen throughout the movie. But in any case, as the movie plays out, it's really just kind of focusing on Neil Armstrong, how he, like, went through the process of really getting able to finally go through this mission, the Apollo 11 mission.
So what I will say too, if you can see this in IMAX, please see it in IMAX. I went and saw this in IMAX, and the way the movie opens up, I went where he's doing like a what do you call it, like a test flight, basically, like. It's a test flight where they're sending
like a little airplane up above the atmosphere, like, and then trying to come back down.
Yeah, and you see the way the turbulence takes over, and the way that scene is shot. I went, oh my god! He crashes in the Mojave Desert, and you just see like the fear, and I'm jumping around a little bit here. I apologize. You could not be more correct in the sense of it's this incredible feat. And I think that people really take that for granted. I mean, I always am amazed when my plane lands correctly. I mean, I can't go to the fucking moon and coming back, you go, holy shit, we did that. That happened. Like you said. I mean, it's not a comic book. It's done cooler in comics, but it's not a comic book. It's not science fiction. It's something that genuinely happened, despite what some morons say. And it's crazy that not only did that happen, but that, I mean, the sacrifice. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a character study of Neil Armstrong and about how if there is something that you felt like you were destined to do and everyone else around you is dying while you do it, that would be a bit of a, maybe I don't want to do this, but Neil Armstrong, I mean, to his credit, he talks about how he feels like this is something he needs to do. And I think Ryan Gosling's the Ling, his performance, it's very quiet, but when Neil speaks, he chooses his words carefully, if that makes sense. When his daughter dies, and that scene in itself, there's a scene where you see him playing with her hair, and the next scene she's being lowered down. I was like, holy shit. And he breaks away from the funeral to go off in his room and just weep. And I just wanted to give Ryan Gosling a hug. I was like, holy crap. Like, that scene is so powerful. It's kind of similar to the start of Up, where I just want to hug everybody in this movie. Jesus. It's a really intense scene. And anytime he's working with, he's acting against Claire Foy, I found it really interesting because he's hurting. And he's trying so hard to just keep it together because he's got NASA on his ass. He's got them saying, hey, we need you to do A, B, and C. And even just the interview process he went through, was really fascinating. He's got Buzz Aldrin, who, if this is accurate, Buzz Aldrin was an asshole. Because Buzz Aldrin was a dick. Anytime I saw Corey Stoll, who I love, for the younger kids, Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man. There you go. But he is a grade A just asshat. The whole time, really, in this movie, I went, God damn. And it's funny because Neil just looks at him a couple times, and he's thinking, what a dick. Like, he never says it. But yeah, I love Corey Stoll in this. I thought he was great. To address the second act, I thought that when it kind of goes into all the training, I thought the first part of the training was interesting. I just thought a little bit of the second act, like maybe 15 minutes, could have been cut. As it gets closer to the actual mission, everything revs up. And as I mentioned earlier, the uncertainty that he may not come home becomes more of a real possibility. And how you see these widows dealing with losing their husbands. It's interesting how Janet Armstrong starts to get affected by it. This is directed by Damien Chazelle, who La La Land, which I know you loved. I think it's all right. He of course did La La Land. Totally forgot he was a screenwriter on 10 Cloverfield Lane, which, like, we both love that movie until the end. God damn it. And then, of course, he did Whiplash. He was the director and screenwriter of Whiplash, which is one of my favorite movies in the last decade. I fucking love that movie. And what I will give this man credit for is that every time there's something shown, like, in frame, and every time there's a scene shot, everything feels important. And all the space stuff is, and I don't use this term often, it is awe-inspiring. when you see there's a scene where it shows Neil Armstrong, and where like the audience looking at him, and you see his visor down, and you see like half of it showing, like Earth in like the orbit and everything, and the stars. And I was just like, oh my, there's so many just here. I went, oh my god, this is so beautifully shot. I mean, he'll probably get another Oscar Best Director nomination just for this movie. And to be honest, he deserves one just for how he was able to handle all these different tones and everything. Yeah, kind of your thoughts, Colin, on that as far as the directing style.
Yeah, I would imagine this would get. I would imagine he would get nominated for Best Director. They'll probably also get nominated for Best Cinematography. Yeah. Possibly sound editing too. The scenes where they basically put you into the spacecraft, like as, say like the Gemini mission, which is kind of the start of the second act. When they're doing with the Gemini mission, they really like the camera is following Neil Armstrong, and you basically are just like along for the ride, and it's like an experience. Like you are getting strapped into this spacecraft. You hear the countdown. The whole thing is rattling, shaking. The sound is intense.
Yes, it is.
Like you hear the thrusters starting up, and then all of a sudden, like once it breaks through the atmosphere and it just goes like dead silent. I mean, it's an incredible, like, I don't know, 5 or so minutes of when this is all happening. And I mean, like, once they get out into space, I realized that I was like gripping my chair.
Me too.
And I was like, oh my god, it's like it felt like I was on like a roller coaster or something, which is a pretty cool feat nowadays, especially when I feel like all of this was shot on film. There was very little to no CGI involved at all. I mean, that's a pretty incredible feat to direct like a scene like that, basically with just sound and I mean, for the most part, it's focusing on Ryan Gosling's face, where I thought like some of his best work, some of the best acting that I see Ryan Gosling do is when he's not even speaking. Like when they're zooming in on his face and you can see the fear and the anxiety, but he's trying to hold it all together because he is the captain of that mission, where the other guy keeps looking towards him for kind of reassurance. They're not saying anything the whole time. You can tell that they're both completely scared out of their minds. And then like once they get into space, you know, there's this relief. They're grabbing each other's arms. I mean, that's an amazing scene. Like, Damien Chazelle can get an Oscar nomination for directing on that scene alone, in my opinion. So yeah, and there's some other scenes of like the space missions that kind of are similar to that, but I thought that was a highlight of the movie.
I mean, as I mentioned, that opening scene for the movie, I went, okay, this is your floor as far as what I'm going to grade you, because I thought that first scene was so well done. I mean, the first scene you hear, you know, his breath trembling, he's grabbing onto anything he fucking can because he's about to crash, and I went, God, and you're right, Gosling just emotes in a way without having to speak. You know, that's tying back to me saying earlier that his performance is quiet, but it's really powerful. And the scene where they're going through training, and he's in the, I know it's not called this, but the twirly whirly machine that's supposed to, you know, simulate all the effects. First off, I just wanted to hug him. I was sitting there eating my popcorn. I went, oh, that sucks. I was like, thank God you're doing that. I'm sitting here on my ass watching you in IMAX. But that scene was just so intense, and he is clearly out of it the first time he does it, and he goes, let's do that again. I was like, Jesus, you're insane. And rightfully so, right after that, he's puking, because why the fuck wouldn't you be after that? But like I said, I know I didn't like this as much as you, but just kind of wrapping up here, the thing about this, if I was teaching a film class, I would show this movie. Because from a technical standpoint, perfect is a strong word, but it's about as close to perfect as you can get. I mean, I put it up there with Dunkirk in that way, because you're right. The sound just when the ships, the rocket, is taken off. I mean, just the sound. You're right. The sound editing is so good here, and the scope of everything. You feel the scope of how not only intense this mission is, but how it's just on the line. And as I said earlier, all the space shit in IMAX, dude. I wish we could have seen this together in IMAX, because it is just massive. Like, space we already know is massive, but just watching space on that giant screen, I was definitely grabbing my armrest, like, okay, like, you're not gonna fall, Hunter, it's okay. But I don't know if this will make my top 10. It might just miss it. I would still give this an A- though. I just thought, as a movie, like I said, my complaints aside, there's so much about this that's great that it balances out the I think is average second act. So yeah, A- for me. Colin, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Okay, I think that's fair and respectable. Yeah, I mean, I just, I have very little gripes with this. The moments of the movie that you were probably bored. I'm still fascinated in the man who was Neil Armstrong, and I just love watching Ryan Gosling portray that character on screen, no matter what's happening. You mentioned Claire Foy; she's incredible as Janet Armstrong, his wife. It's just, I mean, what a scary, tumultuous time to be in this situation. And the best compliment I can give to the movie is that it really just gave me a new understanding and respect, and just perspective of what it was like to be trying to do this thing that most people would have thought was impossible or crazy to even attempt. And to be able to do it and to accomplish it even when all of your colleagues and everyone around you is dying trying to do the same thing is I thought that was the best, most powerful thing that the movie really kind of made me realize. As far as all the technical aspects, I eat all that shit up. I thought Damien Chazelle did a fantastic job directing. Everything's beautiful. I love Ryan Gosling. I could just watch this movie again and marvel at it. But IMAX, if you have not seen this, you have to do yourself a favor and see this in IMAX. It is incredible. I'm probably going to put this in my top 10. I don't know what other movies are going to be coming out. But I loved it. Hell, let's just throw another fan.
Damn, two in a night.
Two movies, two fan-fucking-tastics.
The thing is, like, how do I put this? I would not be mad at someone if they said this was in their top 10. Because I get my personal gripes about it, but seriously though, this movie you have to see on the big screen. Like, you really would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't see this in IMAX. And I don't say that for many movies. Bohemian Rhapsody's coming out soon though. Yeah, but...
Ooh,
we will be talking about that, sir. I'm so excited for that. But yeah, this movie though, man, holy crap! Like I said, the space stuff is just. I was mid-sipping my daiquiri, and I put my daiquiri down. I was like, okay, I was like, space stuff. Let's pay attention.
Yeah, space stuff.
I was waiting for Rick and Morty to show up. I will be the first one. That would be a hell of a twist in the Neil Armstrong film. But I genuinely appreciate a lot about this film. But guys, what did you think of First Man? Let us know in the comments below. You can follow us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud at The Real Pineapple. Go ahead and give us a rating, hopefully 5 stars. Let us know what you like about the podcast. I know it's Colin's sultry voice. That's what I like the most about it. But it could be something different for you guys. So let us know. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. Follow Colin on Twitter at. And you can follow Neil. Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for Oh god, we gotta review that new Creed 2 trailer that dropped. We're gonna talk about Creed 2, the latest trailer that dropped. We're gonna talk about the second trailer for Glass, which I saw in the IMAX screening, and oh my god, I'm so ready for that. As long as talking about The Hate You Give, which, speaking of needing the tissues, and Halloween. Yes, we actually, on occasion, will review horror movies on here, because I've had people bitch to me that, you don't review horror. I don't like being scared. Okay, but I'm going to suck it up for that one. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Meow.